has been lifted, and live and direct from the Kenyatta University Communication Center. This is KUTV Primetime News.
Now in tonight's bulletin, we have a lot lined up for you, but first, the highlights. President Uhuru Kenyatta arrives in Arusha, Tanzania for the EAC Summit.
Kenya Kwanza Alliance heads for the coastal votant as Azimio One Kenya coalition digs deep in Rift Valley.
The Kenyatta University to hold the first physical graduation ceremony since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic.
And Kenyans sigh following the president's directive as maize meal prices descend. Okay, welcome to you live wherever you are, and my name is EMMANUEL KUTOSI.
I'm DAPHNE ORINA, and our sign language interpreter is Sharon Wamboi. We start off with President Uhuru Kenyatta, who has arrived in Arusha, Tanzania to attend the 22nd Ordinary Summit of the East African Community Heads of State. The summit, whose theme is EAC, Deepening Integration, Widening Cooperation, will be preceded by a high-level retreat on the EAC Common Market, where the East African leaders will take stock of the progress of the implementation of the EAC Common Market Protocol.
At the retreat convened by President Kenyatta in his capacity as the chair of the EAC, the heads of state are also expected to agree on a roadmap for the full realization of the common market, among other things. And back within the country, the Court of Appeal has suspended the decision of High Court allowing the independent and the IEBC to retain Reuben Kagame in his present nomination papers.
This is after the IEBC filed an appeal against the High Court ruling, arguing that the order would have serious consequences in the upcoming elections, including postponement, should his name be included on the ballot. The case will be heard next week, Monday at noon. In matters politics, William Ruto's United Democratic Party UDA has been denied access to use the Kasarani and Nyayo National Stadiums to hold its final campaign rallies, which the party had booked for 5th and 6th of August.
In a statement on Thursday addressed to UDA Secretary General Veronica Maina by the Sports Kenya Director General Pius Meto, the stadiums had been already booked and are scheduled for use on those specific days for peace concerts. However, Azimio Umoja's Azimio Secretary General Junet Mohammed on Tuesday announced that they will be holding a final campaign and a mega rally at the Nyayo Stadium on the 6th. Then the UDA was seeking to use the premises on that very day.
Still on matters politics, Kenya Kwanza's presidential flag bearer Dr. William Ruto made a campaign stop at Mpeketoni in Lamu County, where he drummed up support for his bottom-up economic model and bolstered his presidential bid.
He urged residents of the county not to be intimidated and to turn up in droves to vote for leaders who have clear plans to improve their standards of living.
Deputy President William Ruto, while on a campaign tour of Lamu County, implored residents of Mpeketoni to reject his rival Raila Odinga, terming him as a state project, while also blaming the handshake for the high standards of living.
Ni wazi ya kwamba mpango tuliokuwa nayo ya kuzalisha chakula ilihujumiwa, tukapelekwa huko kwa BBI na rege, na ile mpango ikasambaratika, ndio tuko na hali ya njaa katika taifa letu la Kenya.
He went on to state that if elected, his administration will tackle the high standards of living by first ensuring that the high rate of unemployment among the youth is handled by investing 200 billion per year in the textile and leather industries, value addition and housing for the youth.
As Kenya Kwanza, we are saying we are going to invest 200 billion every year so that we can sort out the youth unemployment in textile industry, in leather industry, in wood industry, in manufacturing, in value addition, in agro-processing, in housing, so that the young people of our country can have a decent job and they can live their lives and build our nation.
Ruto stated that to lower the price of unga temporarily was a political move and said that the only way to permanently resolve the issue of high food prices is to lower the cost of farming for farmers, which his government will do by lowering fertilizer prices from 7,000 to 2,000 shillings.
Sisi kama Kenya Kwanza tunasema tunarudisha chini ile fertilizer. Saa hizi mbolea inauzwa shilingi 7,000, tutaiteremusha chini mpaka shilingi 2,000, ndio kila mkulima aweze kuzalisha chakula ya kutosha, tuondoe njaa katika taifa letu la Kenya.
The presidential aspirant urged President Uhuru Kenyatta not to interfere in the upcoming elections and said that his opponents had already sensed defeat, hence their claims of not trusting the electoral governing body.
Ati wanataka kutupanga na ule mzee wa kitendawili. Sasa mimi nauliza nyinyi watu wa Tana River. Sasa niwaulize wale wameketi kwa mahoteli kule Nairobi, ati sijui wamekunywa nini, ati wanajaribu kutupanga, wao ndio wataamua ama nyinyi ndio mtaamua? Wale ndio kusema ama nyinyi ndio kusema?
With only 18 days remaining to the general election, the race is on for all presidential aspirants to do their final campaign tours, and with Kenyans excited for the upcoming presidential debates, only time will tell who will emerge victorious. Irongo Kagoda, KUTV, Nairobi.
And on the other end of the political divide, there's Azimio la Umoja, one Kenya coalition led by its trailblazer Raila Odinga. Today took their campaigns to Rift Valley, touring Baringo, West Pokot and Elgeyo Marakwet on a vote-hunting mission.
Odinga promised an economic liberation should he clinch the presidential seat come August 9th. His running mate Martha Karua, on the other hand, held the Azimio campaigns in Nyeri County.
ODM leader Raila Odinga today took the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya campaigns to Baringo, West Pokot and Elgeyo Marakwet, where he asked the residents to turn out in large numbers and vote for him in the coming elections. Fellow leaders from the coalition accompanied Odinga in holding the campaigns.
Kwa sababu hapa naona kura ziko hapa. Mmekubali kumpeleka baba State House. Na hiyo inatufurahisha sana.
President ambaye akisema ataleta kazi. Hatutaki porojo nyingi, si ni kweli?
Odinga reiterated his agenda highlighted in the manifesto, including free education for primary and secondary schools, boosting the economy, creating job opportunities to the youth, reducing the cost of living, and Baba Care system which will cater for the medication of Kenyans.
Your Excellency, you are not in Kisumu, you are in West Pokot. Angalia kura yako.
He also promised agricultural liberation by reducing the prices of fertilizer.
Baba akihakikisha ya kwamba vituo vya matibabu zimeletwa karibu na pale wananchi wanaishi, ili wananchi wasio wanahangaika kutembea mbali.
Martha Karua, on the other hand, held the campaigns in Nyeri County, where he asked the residents to support the Azimio leader in the coming elections.
Hatujakuja kwa Gakendo town tena, lakini mmetusikia tukiwa mahali ingine, sivyo? Tumekuja kuwakumbusha kura ya mwaka huu. Utajiuliza ni nani unaweza amini?
The Azimio team is marshalling for votes from every part of the country to ensure they acquire victory in the general elections. With only 18 days left, Kenyans are urged to remain peaceful even as the elections draw nearer. Joy Pauline, KUTV.
We switch gears from matters politics to the health, and now today 80 people have tested positive for COVID-19 from a sample size of 2,075 tested in the last 24 hours. The positivity rate is now at 3.9%. The total confirmed positive cases now stand at 337,085.
68 people have recovered, raising the number of total recoveries to 330,261. Fortunately, no patient has succumbed to the disease today, therefore retaining the cumulative fatalities at 5,670. Elsewhere, Kenyatta University will be having its 51st graduation ceremony tomorrow, the 22nd of July 2022, with graduates from different schools.
This event will be the first physical graduation ceremony in 3 years after the COVID-19 pandemic, and it serves as a special moment for graduates to witness and celebrate their success one-on-one from the university's graduation square.
Kenyatta University will be having their 51st graduation ceremony scheduled to take place tomorrow, 22nd July 2022. The event will take place in the university's graduation square. The theme of the 51st graduation will be repositioning research and education beyond COVID-19 pandemic. The graduates from different schools have expressed how they feel and what they expect from the main event tomorrow.
I'm very honored, I'm very happy to take part in this 51st graduation ceremony and being one of the graduates. I'm very excited.
It feels nice. It feels nice, especially now that we were affected by the COVID-19. Yeah, it feels nice. I can't even say.
I'm really happy, and happy Jubilee KU, by the way, and it's really a nice feeling, by the way. Yes, I'm really excited.
After the COVID-19 pandemic, most graduation ceremonies have been virtual, but for the first time in 3 years, Kenyatta University graduates will witness physically as they graduate from the university's graduation square.
2020 was that year yenye huwezi sahau, and of course we had to take a break. And after that, resuming classes was a little bit a struggle because, for the long break. But then, thank God, we read, finished, and we are here.
Yeah, it caused some delays, but finally, here it comes.
Kulikuwa na COVID, Actually, it affected me. Ilini affect, lakini nilikuwa na ile perseverance and resilience. So nilikuwa nataka ni achieve pia mimi. So nilingamua kuvumilia mpaka COVID iishe.
COVID-19 has affected my studies because I was to graduate in year 2020, but unfortunately we had to wait for this day. Delayed our sessions by, I guess it was 3 semesters that we didn't study.
The ceremony will also be broadcasted live on the KUTV, Lola app, the school website, and across all the social media platforms Kenyatta University.
This being the first physical graduation ceremony in 3 years after the COVID-19 pandemic, Kenyatta University is all set for tomorrow 51st graduation ceremony to be held in the university. Nyambura Kabura, KUTV.
Perseverance That's the story of the 51st graduation ceremony right here at the Kenyatta University. Be sure to catch that. And also, we're coming back in a moment after this short break with the interview that you really don't want to miss.
Stay tuned.
Driving and riding without incidences on the road is such an amazing experience. But do you know while many road traffic crashes are avoidable, human behavior continues to be the leading cause. Speeding, lane indiscipline, drunk driving, distracted driving, failure to wear a helmet, and failure to use available pedestrian ways have been flagged by NTSA as the fatal 6 behaviors likely to lead to a fatal crash and serious injuries. As part of the Usalama Barabarani campaign, we request all road users to prevent these fatal 6 behaviors for their own safety and that of others. When driving, ensure your speed is within the stipulated limits, the road ahead is clear before overtaking. Stick to your lane, keep left unless carefully overtaking. You're well rested if driving on long distances, and you never drink and drive. Usalama Barabarani starts with you. Fika Salama. This message is brought to you by the National Transport and Safety Authority and the European Union.
What is this magic? I need that magic.
Somebody call 911. Anything for your girl, give me more.
And I say my sugary body, den.
Right, welcome back and thank you for staying with us.
Okay, and we are streaming live on KUTV Kenya on YouTube, KUTV Kenya on Facebook, and also you can talk to us on Twitter at KUTV_Kenya. Now, earlier this week, I had the opportunity to talk to one professor, Thomas Destiny Namwamba. On his course, he's actually doing his 6th degree, and I will not preempt so much on the discussion. I'll let you have a look for yourself.
All right, the 22nd of July 2022. What is so interesting about this date, particularly to the Kenyatta University? Well, the 51st graduation ceremony, and it will be happening at the main campus right here in Nairobi. And among the graduates, I'm joined by Professor Thomas Destiny Namwamba, one who will be on that list, and one whose journey through academia is one that you really want to know about. Professor, welcome to the broadcast tonight, and kindly give us a brief about your whole journey. I will not even preempt into it, but just give us everything about it.
Thank you very much. My name is Tom Destiny Namwamba. I'm a senior lecturer at Kenyatta University. I have done my studies in various institutions, both locally and internationally. I started my education in a very local primary school in Budalangi constituency of Busia County called Port Victoria Mixed Secondary School. I did my standard 7 there. I excelled, then I joined Kisumu High School where I did my Form 4. After my Form 5 I also excelled. I went to a high school in South Nyanza called Agorosare High School where I did my A-level. I excelled, then I joined Kenyatta University to do a Bachelor of Education degree, Arts. I did my degree. I finished on good time.
That's the first degree?
The first degree I did.
Which year was this?
I graduated in 1988. I got my first degree in 1988, and then thereafter I was posted to teach at Alliance Boys High School. I was at Alliance High School for about 6 months. Then Kenyatta University started a new program, which was called the Staff Development Program, to develop capacity for the faculties. And I was one of the first people to be recruited by the Kenyatta University because I had excelled in my first degree. I was recruited in the philosophy section of the Department of Philosophy and Religious Studies. And one of the criteria and condition for admission for recruitment was that you embark on your postgraduate studies immediately. So I embarked on my master's degree in philosophy in the Department of Philosophy and Religious Studies. I graduated with my master's degree in philosophy, majoring in metaphysics in 1988. Thereafter, I had started working on my PhD proposal, and I had requested the department to assign me a supervisor to start working on my PhD proposal just before I finished my master's. And I was assigned 2 supervisors. By the time I was graduating with my master's, I already had 2 supervisors for my PhD. I wrote a proposal, and at the same time I was also scouting around for scholarships to see if I could get a scholarship to study outside. And fortunately, I wrote a proposal. There was an advert in the newspaper. I wrote a proposal and submitted my proposal to the International Agency for Studies of the Spanish government. It was called Agencia Español de Cooperación Internacional. I submitted my proposal, and that year they were taking about 2 people from Africa to go and study in Spain. And so it was a very competitive program to be awarded the scholarship. Fortunately, by 1997, I was called and I was told I was one of the 2 people who got the scholarship, and I was being admitted at the prestigious University of Madrid at Complutense. So I got a scholarship, and the embassy was very grateful. They actually processed for me the visa free of charge. And I landed in Madrid. I was in Madrid at the University of Madrid at Complutense, where I embarked on doing my PhD in philosophy. I was assigned a very competent supervisor. By then she was the president of the feminist movement, the world feminist movement. She was the president. A very, very strong elder lady called Professor Celia Amoros. And she was a wonderful supervisor. I worked on my thesis, but before I did my thesis, it was a condition that I must speak Spanish. So they told me I either speak Spanish or I cannot proceed with my program. So I had to register at the University of Madrid runs a school of language. So I had to register at the School of Language to do Spanish language. And because I was so committed and determined, within 3.5 months I was very able to speak Spanish. And so I was allowed to continue with my studies now at the university, because as it has been adopted here, there it was a condition that you do first year you do coursework, then you can choose the criteria of how you want to do your PhD, either by a thesis direct, or by conferences and thesis, or by teaching and thesis. So I chose to do my thesis by conference and thesis. So I visited quite a number of European Union countries, presenting papers in about 6 countries. I was in Switzerland, I was in Denmark, I was in Netherlands, I was in Germany, I went to Austria presenting papers, I was in Portugal. And fortunately I was so committed because I was not doing a lot of things, I was just on my study. I managed to finish my PhD in a record of 3 years. And I got a first class. In my PhD I got a first class. And the university had to host a party for me because that was the first time a foreigner from Africa or Latin America was getting a first-class degree in philosophy. I majored in critical thinking and problem solving. I got a first class, and as a first class, as an honor for having attained a first class, the university bestowed on you a honorary degree. A honorary degree for that. That's why my degree reads philosophy and educational sciences. That was a honorary degree for excellence in educational matters. So I got my PhD, and then when I came back after my PhD, I was offered an opportunity by the University of Madrid to start the Center for Critical Thinking. But I love home. I love home, so I said I will take my mind back to Kenya to help my people. So I came back to Kenyatta University, where I had already been recruited as a graduate assistant. By the time I was leaving, I had already been promoted to an assistant lecturer. So when I came back, I got an automatic promotion to a lecturer. But I was not satisfied with the studies. So I decided, as I was working, to start looking for another scholarship. I wanted to go to do my postdoctoral. Fortunately, I landed a scholarship by the Center for Research in Value and Philosophy at the Catholic University of Washington, D.C., of America at Washington, D.C. So in 2001, I left to go for my postdoctoral studies. I was outside for 8 months for my postdoctoral studies, and I came back with my postdoctoral degree in leadership and conflict management. After I came back, I continued teaching. I love teaching. I was at one point appointed the director of alumni and outreach programs. I was not really satisfied with administration because it was taking me away from my calling, academics. So I bowed out of administration after 6 months to continue with work. I also started writing books and publishing books. And from the time I came from America to the time I started again studying, I was busy writing books. I have published 10 books. Most of them are in critical thinking and problem solving and creativity. Only one is in philosophy, and the other book is on leadership and conflict management. And so by 2016, I thought I still wanted to go back to study. So I decided to apply for admission at Kenyatta University. I decided to study law. So I applied for admission in law. I was admitted to do law at undergraduate level. I processed everything. But you know, the School of Law is not at the main campus. And yet I'm needed at the main campus as a full-time lecturer to continue teaching. So I traveled to and fro from Parkland campus for a few days, but I found it was fatiguing me. So I pulled out, but that was not because of deficiency in capacity to study, but it was because of the fatigue of being on the road, run here, be in class, run there, be in class. So I opted, because the course in international relations and diplomacy was being offered within campus, I decided to apply instead to do a master's degree in international relations and diplomacy, and I was admitted.
Now, in the whole timeline of actually managing all these challenges, I believe time is also moving, and there are things that one has and wants to achieve in matters of maybe socially family life. So I'm going to ask you, are you a father? Are you a parent? And how have you been able to manage this all through this time?
Thank you. I am a very, very proud father, and I'm very, very proud husband. My wife is from Bomet. My wife is a Kipsigis from Bomet. I love her very, very much. She's a mother to my children. I love my children very, very much. Before my marriage, I also had a child somewhere, but with my wife, I have 2 children, Zenane, a girl, and Nathan, a boy. I love them very, very much. Maybe you can have an opportunity to meet with them because they are within. You can have an opportunity to meet them. I love my wife very, very. And I believe that whatever I do, it is not just a motivation for me. It is not just a motivation for my student like now I teach. I teach so many students in this university. In fact, some of the units I teach is one of the common units in this university called critical and creative thinking. So every year I teach about 3,000 students. And I can assure you that I'm very proud of my students, and I am certain that 85 to 90% of my students are also very proud of me, because what I do it as a motivation to them to get somewhere. I never intimidate my students. I never look down upon my students. I do not harass my students. I do not keep away from my students. I do not force my students to call me by titles. In fact, when I introduce myself in class, I tell students, whether you call me Namwamba, or you call me Tom, or you call me Sir, or you call me Professor, or you call me Doctor, it doesn't change me. I am just me. So call me the way you want, as long as we keep respect for one another. I do not demand respect from my students, nor do they demand respect from me. It is mutual. It comes from both of us. And so I get along with my students very well, and many of them look upon me. I was surprised just 2 days ago. One of my students, who is actually also graduating, he's graduating and with a degree in fine art. He walked in my office and told me, I just came from a conference in Gambia, and right now I'm doing some part-time teaching of fine art at USIU. I told him, how did you manage, and you have not graduated? He told me, no, you know, this is artwork. I told him, that is good. You must be good then. He told me, you know why I'm good? It is because of you. I told him, how? Critical thinking and fine art. He told me, I apply the elements of critical thinking to fine art, and I've stood out. And I was so proud of that student. And he told me, I'm graduating and I'm inviting you for my prayer, Thanksgiving prayer at All Saints Cathedral, immediately after graduation, and I have a present for you. I told him, what present? He told me, I have drawn a portrait of you as an academia, I told him, that is wonderful. This is a student that I never even knew that he existed in my class. And there he is. Because he looks upon me as a drive. Many students have come to me asking me to be their mentor. They look upon you as a drive. And it does not stop there. It is something that I've also carried to my family at home, to make sure that I inspire my brothers. Ababu, when he was in school, I remember I was an undergraduate when he was in high school. There were times when I could bring him and lock him in my room when I was staying here and make sure that he uses the library to read. And lunchtime, I was only buying him a half loaf of bread and a soda for lunch. And I could keep him here. Evening, he goes to my sister's place as a motivation for him to work hard. And he excelled. He became the best in his school at Kolanya, and he was admitted to do law. I've done it to my cousins. You meet some of them are veterinary doctors and others. And that zeal of motivation does not stop outside. It enters the bedrooms of my house. When my wife got her first degree, and we had her party, and the parents were there, I said, this is a starting. You have just made one step. You have now to do your master's and do your PhD. Right now, she's almost completing her master's before she embarks on her PhD. My kids, I do with them homework. We do homework with my children. I motivate them. Today, this morning, when I was packing this thing to come and talk to you, my daughter was asking me, Dad, can I put it on? I told her, you put it on practically, not just to show. If you can promise me that one day you will put it on, you put it on, I take your picture. She told me, I will. And my son was just leaving school. He removed the uniform, and I said, I also want to put it on. So you create that kind of an environment where everybody is motivated to want to excel. And humility also at home. You do not do this with arrogance. You do not do this with pride. You do it with humility as a motivation, and you show them that the more you go up in academics, the more humble you become, the more understanding you become, the more integrating you become, and the more human you become to society.
Now, Professor,
yes,
through this journey, you must have been going through challenges, a lot of challenges. And I will not really go into all that, but I'd like you to give me like 3 that you have been very impactful to you, that you can actually recall, these 3 challenges that you can just share with us.
Yeah, there have been a lot of challenges. I'll only mention 3. There have been a lot of challenges. Some of the challenges stem from the family background. Some of us, we do not come from well-placed families. We come from lowly families. And when you are from a lowly family and you happen to step within the university, the entire family, especially your siblings, your parents, look upon you as now the beacon of hope for the family. And at times they expect that now that you are at the university, you can also have a hand of support. Fortunately, some of us, by the time we were at the university, we were advantaged, because unlike today when you have to apply for the HELB loan and wait, our loan from the government was automatic. Actually, the National Bank van used to come to the university to pay as what was called boom by that time at the student center. You only had to walk there, queue, and get your money. Food was free in the dining halls. Food was free, and food was so good that we cannot afford to eat the way we were eating when we were students. But now the big challenge is the expectations by the family, because I remember I actually practically used to use half of my boom to educate my own siblings, to pay their school fees. And one of the beneficiaries of that undertaking was my brother, who has been an MP for a long time and now CAS, Babu Namwamba. He was one of the beneficiaries of my boom as school fees when he joined Form 1. The other challenge that I really faced was when I was admitted here, and I had to embark on my master's degree. After I was admitted here as a graduate assistant. The biggest problem that postgraduate students go through is the capacity, the commitment, and the availability of the supervisors. And you know, some of the supervisors that some of us had were those people who had this traditional orientation in academics, like the teacher knows it all. So you take the wisdom of the teacher, you hardly contribute. And by the time you are writing your work, at times it really frustrates you a lot, because you see the voice of the supervisor more echoed in your work than your voice. And if you are a person who is really committed to contribute to knowledge, at times you really get frustrated that the supervisor cannot take time to understand what you are doing. I can give you an example of how I really got frustrated. I was doing, in my master's degree, I told you I was doing something in metaphysics. I was investigating something that these occultic forces. Occultic forces are founded within the notion of the supersensuous world, the world of the spiritual world. So I was talking about the occultic force, and the supervisor kept insisting on cult. And I kept telling the supervisor, I'm talking about an occult, I'm not talking about cult. And every time I gave him work, he could change the word occult from occult to cult. Until one time, I got so frustrated, because by that time, even the typewriters, we were using typewriters and psychostylers to run the work. Computers were not there. And so one time, you write the whole chapter using your own hand, okay? You have written until the fingers are swollen, these parts, and you take the work to a traditional supervisor. And the supervisor looks at the work and in your face, and he tells you this is rubbish. And he tosses the work, and he tells you go and write again. You can imagine you don't know where to start from. You have taken about 3-4 months writing. You get so frustrated. You feel like abandoning your studies, but you say, I am here to do something. Things might be difficult, but they are not impossible. I'll do it. You go back and start writing afresh. So that was so frustrating to me. The other frustration that I met in the pursuit of my academics was as a result of when I landed in Madrid. When I landed at the airport in Madrid, I discovered that I was one among very few black people that I could see around there. In comparison, when I used to see my other colleagues from other ethnic tribes here who are darker than ours, I used to think I'm very light and brown. Now I landed there and I discovered that I'm the blackest person around, and I cannot speak Spanish. The Western world, especially countries in the East, like in Europe, If you go to Germany, you go to Austria, you go to Spain, you go to France, you go to Italy, you go to Portugal, they are very proud of their language. Even if they have been outside there and they have started, they will want to address you in their language. So you get to the airport, everybody is talking to you, hola, hola, como se va, estoy bien. And then you are wondering, where am I? I had started learning some Spanish, but it was not very good. And I have to, because the flight from Switzerland delayed a bit from Zurich. So I landed when the vehicle from the university that came to pick me had just left. But fortunately I had the map from the embassy. So I'm showing somebody the map to show me, and he's talking to me in Spanish. I'm asking him how much. He's telling me money in pesetas. That was the currency of Spain by then. I don't even know what peseta is. Me, I have some little dollars. And I got so frustrated, so I just showed him on the map. He drove me up to the university at the hostel. And then I got somebody from Brazil who could speak English. So he helped me. And when I went to the university, it was a bit frustrating because even those who speak English, they are telling me you have to speak Spanish. You have to speak Spanish. And that gave me the motivation to go to the School of Language and learn that language. I'm very poor at learning languages, but I can assure you that I learned language. So those were some of the elements. The last one was when I was an undergraduate student, because of the despotic kind of the systems that students experience within the universities. You realize that when you come to the university, you sign some rules and regulations. But when you get to the university, the rhythm of life is not as you expected it. And you need to ask some questions to see things work. And somebody is telling you didn't come here to ask questions, you came to study. And so you live like an introvert. You cannot ask questions. If you ask questions, you are condemned. And if you are condemned, you are threatened to go back home. So you have to keep quiet. And I think that one inspired me more to want to study critical thinking. Yes.
Now, Professor, I address you as a professor right now.
Yes.
Because you have actually gone over all these challenges to be where you are right now. How about you give us this, because there are those who are interested in following such a path as you. You're a mentor without saying. Now, share with our viewers, particularly even students who are seeking to go through such a journey as yours, through the whole course of academia. What is your word to them, despite the challenges that they face in the whole journey?
In life, you must have goals. You must set goals. And in life, you must project what you want to achieve. But even in that situation of projection and focus, you will get other factors that try to impede you from getting where you want. Many a times in this country, for example, and in other countries, we are products of society. We are products of society. When a kid is growing up and going to school in primary, the mother is already setting goals of what he wants or she wants her kid to become. The father is setting goals what he wants his kid to become. The relatives the same. You go to school, you are meeting teachers who are competing over you. You can become a good mathematician, you can become a good person in languages, you can be a good historian. So all these factors are impacting on you, but nobody gives room for some to explore and look at this kid and try to learn what are the potentials of a person. First, I want to say I'm actually positive about CBC because it gives opportunity to kids to become themselves. But during my time, you must have that pushing force within you. You must have that force that if others have done it, I can even do it better. If people have reached there, I can reach there. I remember my uncle, one of my uncles used to be an engineer. He was an engineer and he used to come home when I was in primary with a small car. It was called Honda Civic, a Honda Civic car. I used to look at that car. When he's not near, I could go touch that car, go around it, want just to sleep on that car, feel good, and I say, I want to have this car also. One day when I grow up, I want to do this. So you focus and you work hard towards that, and despite the obstacles that you meet in your life. Determination, hard work, focus, and not looking back at what people say about you, because people will try to pull you down. I can assure you that even when you are working hard to do something. I've heard a lot of gossips about me by either my colleagues here or by people in the villages who say, oh yeah, hataweza, him he cannot. Even when I started doing this degree, some of my colleagues told me, are you abnormal? This man, why are you wasting it on education? What will it add to you? Why don't you invest this money and do business? I said, you know, to me it is not about business, it is not about money. It is about the internal quest, the internal urge, the internal thirst, that even if I get this degree and I don't use it, I have it. It is that motivation that pushes you. And I believe that anybody who has had an opportunity to access an institution or institutions of learning, if he sets his goals right, and if he has that pushing force within him, and if he has expectations of what he wants to achieve, anything is possible, however difficult it may be. Although Parklands was a bit far for me to do my law degree, I've actually narrowed the distance of that, and I've already been talking to the North Atlantic University to do this degree online, and I have already secured admission at that university. Possibly from next year I'll be starting my program, and that will not be all. I will want to open more doors. Academics is not about jobs. Academic is not about pride. Academics is about getting the knowledge that can make the world better and sharing that knowledge with people. I know that we live in very difficult times. I know that our youths today, especially those who are in our institutions of learning, they are going through a lot of difficulties. Majority of our youths who are in our universities locally, because the rich take their kids outside there, majority of the kids in our schools come from either low, middle or low level families, majority of them, and they find life very difficult here. I talk to the students, some of them come to me, some of them come even to ask me if I have any work they can be doing for me at my residence during weekend. So the life is not very difficult, but I want to tell the students that all is not all until you get through the difficulties. You cannot wallow in the difficulties and get stagnated in the difficulties and start retreating. Any step that you retreat, you invite more difficulties. But any stride you make forward, you diminish those difficulties. I want to assure them that nobody can go wrong with education. Nobody can go wrong by pursuing education to its ultimate goal. Because countries collapse. Countries can stand, countries can collapse. If there is problems in this country, for example, you will not carry that big house you are building. You will not carry that car with you. You will not carry those many clothes you want to buy. But you can carry your education with you to go somewhere and start afresh. Nobody at the border you are crossing will be interested in that paper. If you showed him that I'm only carrying these papers, I have nothing to, or if I have no money on me, they'll tell you this paper cannot help us. You will pass with that, and that paper eventually will help you settle where you are going. Secondly, things might be difficult as you walk through to the path of success. But something being difficult does not mean it is impossible. You can crack it. The fundamental statement that should always guide you and be your gadfly is, if others have done it, why can't I do it? If others have walked that journey and got there, why can't I walk it? As long as opportunity prevails, as long as means are there, walk through the dust, and tomorrow you'll put on a shining shoes. And more importantly, seek guidance. Associate yourself with good people. Talk to the people to guide you where you think you may be deficient in understanding what needs to be done. Do not push yourself in a program that you think you have no capacity to fathom. Be in programs that you think your mind can comprehend. We have different levels of thinking. We have different levels of understanding. Get into a program not because you want to please somebody. Get into a program because you have the capacity to handle that program. And lastly, I want also to urge my colleagues within institutions of higher learning. I want to urge the government. First, the government should be more focused on education. This question of looking at education as the second thing to come and money and investment being the first thing to come away from education, it kills a nation, because education becomes the foundation, the basis on which you can build the economy of the country. For the administrations of the university, I want to urge them to be lenient. Listen to the students, understand the plight of the students, understand the problems they go through. If you can solve those problems, solve them. And also create a platform where these students can have an opportunity where they can meet people to talk to them about how to deal with these problems and how to surpass these problems. We need to enhance the capacity for counseling our students, for guiding our students to be on the right path. And more importantly, I want to tell the comrades and the students, because now I'm talking to you as a comrade because I'm also graduating, that let's stand united, let's help one another, and let's have an opportunity where if one of us is unable to pursue his studies, either because of economic hardship, let's always do what we have been doing in the past, but let's enhance capacity of putting our hands together so that we can hold the hands of our colleagues and walk them through by contributing towards their education so that they can also be able to succeed and finish and realize their objective goal in life.
All right, thank you very much, Professor Namwamba. Thank you for that moment and actually sharing your story with us right at KUTV. We thank you for your valued company. In fact, I'm sure something has been stirred, because certainly in me something has been stirred. We take a short break. We'll be back in a moment.
All right, we'll have to ride that break as we move on with the news of the day. Government spokesman Cyrus Oguna toured Murang'a County, where he has asked Kenyans to embrace infrastructural development done by the government.
Oguna was accompanied by members of Murang'a County Development Implementation and Coordination Committee, called on Kenyans to shun politicians who are rubbishing projects that the government is implementing.
Government spokesperson Cyrus Oguna has underscored various infrastructural development projects the government is implementing in different parts of the country. Speaking when he inspected the implementation of Kanyanyaini Market in Mau Mau Road, Oguna noted that the economy cannot grow without putting in place key infrastructure that will drive the growth of the country. The government spokesman hailed the Kanyanyaini Market, which is at 93% completion, in the Mau Mau Road, which connects 4 counties of Murang'a, Kiambu, Nyeri and Nyandarua. He highlighted that the government is currently constructing 64 modern markets, which will not only support traders, but also other people, including farmers, drivers, among others.
The cost of living cannot be blamed on an individual person, because we all know what is happening globally. There are many factors that have contributed to what we're seeing right now. You know, we know that as a country we are coming from a situation in which we had, locust invasion, and therefore anybody trying to blame the government, for what we are currently experiencing is what you can call simplistic as an argument.
Oguna observed that government projects which cut across various sectors are meant to boost the economy of the country once completed, noting that key roads, ports, markets and hospitals being undertaken by the government are supposed to move Kenya from a third world country to a middle-level income nation. He also asked Kenyans to avoid politicians who are rubbishing the projects the government is implementing. Tracy Nganga, KUTV.
All right, to take a swift dive into the world of sports, where the first batch of Kenyan athletes that will participate in the forthcoming Commonwealth Games is set to jet out tomorrow, with the games beginning from Thursday next week to the 8th of August in Birmingham, England. 11 disciplines including athletics, boxing, squash, hockey, badminton, cycling, swimming, table tennis and triathlon lawn bowls and paracycling players will comprise the team that will have to live first.
Athletes currently in Oregon participating in the World Athletics Championships will connect directly to Birmingham. PCR tests started being conducted from yesterday at the residential camp in Moi Stadium, Kasarani, for teams traveling on Friday. All athletes have traveling documents in place after a checklist was issued to all team managers to ensure they have everything the team requires days before departure. Lieutenant.
Where the 13th leg of the ongoing Safaricom Golf Tour will be held at the Vet Lab Sports Club this weekend, with over 350 junior and senior golfers set to take on the 18-hole course. The tournament comes just 1 week after Lieutenant Colonel Michael Mulwa won the 12th leg held at Kenya Air Force Base in Eastleigh.
Last weekend's action also featured a golf outreach program dubbed Golf Mtaani, where youngsters from the nearby Mathare area got a chance to learn about the game. This weekend's tournament will see the senior golfers take to the course on Saturday, while Sunday's event will feature the junior competition, which will run alongside the golf clinics to be held at the same facility. The aim of the golf clinics is to introduce young and aspiring golfers into the sport.
Alright, and that's how we close the curtains right here on KUTV Primetime News on this 21st day of July 2022. A special day it will be tomorrow, the 51st graduation ceremony, a ceremony that has not been held for the last 3 years due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The 47th graduation being the last physical one that was held within the campus. And now we are going into a new season, a new breakthrough even past the COVID, though it is still disturbing us. And among them who will be graduating is Professor Thomas Destin Namambo, as you have seen, and also our very own Daphne Orina is among those on the list to graduate tomorrow. Congratulations, Daphne.
Thank you. You really had to put that out there. We'll see in a subsequent bulletin. We'll have to leave it at that. My name is Daphne Orina, and I've been in the company of
EMMANUEL KUTOSI, an in-sign language interpretation we've been sailing through with Sharon Wamboi. Thank you for giving us your valued company tonight, and have a peaceful night.
And a great weekend ahead.